Today in this video I just want to talk about not necessarily bonsai trees, but I guess maybe plants in general, and drainage of soil. Now I'm just using this bonsai tree as an example just because the results on it were so obvious and dramatic. So this bonsai tree here is a ficus. This was given to me by somebody, and you can see it looks pretty bad. No, the leaves have all fallen off of it. I actually cut this branch here. Is this? I cut that off a while ago, and then all these new shoots grew out of that. There's a little bit of green left on this. This was doing great. I cut this off, and this grew a ton of new branches around here. It was doing really, really well. Then suddenly, just one day, these leaves started turning yellow like this and falling off like that one just did. And I was like, what's going on? It was doing so well, and then all of a sudden it just changed. I give it, I water it twice a week, sometimes once a week, it depends. And I base it off soil moisture. So this didn't come with this soil here. This is my own mix. What it was before was kind of like gravel, kind of like just like this brown stuff that you see in here. And on the surface, for about the first inch, it looked all like this gravel here. But then underneath all that gravel, when I dug down, it was soil. Well, it wasn't completely soil. It was still mixed in with this gravel, but it was a lot of organic material, a lot of soil-looking material. So it's kind of like the soil you see in here. And on the surface, it looked dry, but way down underneath, it was all soil, and it was all wet. But the reason why this was happening was because the roots were getting root rot, and it was staying too wet for too long. And it was something I noticed had happened before, and then it just kind of started doing, growing healthy again. And it probably was because as this had more leaves on it, and I cut it off, or before I cut it off, the leaves were helping to perspirate and draw more moisture out of that soil and evaporate it. So when I'd water it, it was not being overwatered. But when it got cut back, and even though it was doing well at first, very well, it just kind of halted growth, and that's because this was staying too wet. And you couldn't really tell from the surface of it, but way underneath it was holding on to so much moisture. When I repotted this and I pulled this out, the roots were kind of just falling apart. So it tells me it was getting root rot. And also, if you smell the soil, you can usually tell that it doesn't smell good. If it doesn't smell good, that's anaerobic conditions. That means it's bad, and that's definitely going to be causing root rot in any plant. So this soil here is actually, it's my own mix. It's a very, very typical mix. It's just, this is perlite. It's about 50% perlite, I'd say. And this is a safety absorbent. It's basically a medium fired clay. It doesn't break apart. It's very much like a rock. It's kind of like ground up clay pots. And that's all it really is. There's actually some organics in here, which is this, it's pine bark, which is actually from it's like a reptile bedding you get from a pet store. And there's just like maybe 10% that mixed in there, just help to retain a little bit of moisture and have some organics in there for a little bit of a buffer. Now, when I water this drains out immediately, and everything else holds on to some moisture, but it doesn't keep it soaking wet. So now I'm kind of in the process of revitalizing this tree again. And so far it seems like I've halted the process of regressing, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to start progressing again and repairing itself. I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people might have issues with plants, and especially house plants, and you don't understand why they could be doing poorly. And a lot of it can be attributed to either underwatering or overwatering. And honestly, overwatering is way worse than underwatering. If you're underwatering something, you can tell it is dry, and you can see that the leaves are wilty. And it can easily be corrected by just giving it some water. And a lot of times it has less causes less stress on the plant and less problems than if you overwater, such as what happened with this tree, because it used to look like this and bigger before I cut it back and everything. It's not because it just got cut back and I needed to water less. It needed to be repotted, and there was just way too much organics that was in this, that this was planted in, and it was holding on to way too much moisture. And that's the other part I wanted to talk about. The roots need oxygen. They need air, and there's little gaps in between these larger particles, and that's why you plant bonsai trees in something that is not soil. You plant it in rock, or at least something that's not organic and it doesn't break down into fine soil. So you want to use sand. Nothing's going to clog it up. So when you water bonsai trees, or actually a lot of house plants, you can probably switch over a lot of house plants to it too, but mainly this is used for bonsai trees. You want something that drains very well and very quickly. You want it to retain moisture, not water. And that's the same thing over here with this. This is my lemon tree. I started from seed about a year and a half ago. And this here is just rock. This isn't my own mix. I bought this actually on Amazon. This is a tropical mix. And when I water this, I can fill this up to the top with water. I mean, if I was to water it quick enough. But it drains so quickly that it really never even gets to that point where it can overflow. Everything just drains right out the bottom. And when it does that, it's also drawing in fresh air because it's displacing air when you're watering it. And then fresh air gets drawn in as the water comes out of it. But a side note, the red, blue, white versus white LED grow test is coming up. And you know, every video I make can't be, you know, a huge production. I don't want to spam my channel with a bunch of videos. I want to put some stuff out there that's helpful to people and kind of fill in the gaps between the other videos that are coming up. So I'm trying to do just weekly uploads. But that grow test is coming up soon, and I wanted to just get it out there because I had some germination issues and I kind of fell behind schedule, about a month behind schedule actually. But it is coming along. And also with these are these Sancy lights I've talked about in my other videos. This is the 15 watt, that's a 40 watt, 15 watt, and because this is not using the exact wattage it states, all of these lights combined is only 65 watts of light. And I like these because you could, for a situation like this when you have plants at all different heights here, I can adjust each light up or down depending on how much light that I need per the area that I'm lighting. And all of this together is putting out a lot of light. It's lighting it very well. I've tested with my meter. I'm getting about 100 micromoles of light at each plant top. And also I like the fact that I'm not using just one bright light, because this way I can get light from this side and from this side, and I can hit more, or I should say better canopy penetration. So anyways, this video is very long already. I hope that was helpful to some people out there looking for some information. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about what you see here, and maybe more questions about soil and lighting, and I can probably usually answer those within a day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.